Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. We're getting started. Hi, folks. Hi, folks. Welcome. Welcome to the 2023 Annual Luncheon of the Colorado Lawyers Committee. I want to thank you for being here. My name is Kristen Bronson. Thank you. This is my first awards luncheon as the new executive director. Thank you. We're so delighted that you could be here this afternoon at the beautiful Ritz-Carlton, Denver. So thank you, and thank you to the staff. They've done an amazing job for us. What a crowd we have today. We actually sold out the ballroom. So please give yourselves a hand, and thank you. We have a terrific and I hope inspiring lunch program for you today. We are very excited about our keynote speaker, Colorado Supreme Court Justice Melissa Hart, who will be up here in just a little bit. And we're very excited to celebrate our volunteers. Before we get started, I do want to say a thank you to all of our sponsors who have made this event possible. We have a list of those in your programs, and they are on the screen. But I want you to take a minute to read through those and also take time to thank our corporate sponsors. Many of those sponsors help us not just at this luncheon, but throughout the year. I want to give a special shout out to Paul Hartman of Hartman Photo LLC. Please thank Paul. Paul has been an incredible contributor to the Lawyers Committee over the years as our pro bono photographer. He makes us look amazing, both in the annual report, in the program, at all of these events, and we are so very grateful, Paul. Thank you so much. I also want to thank the incredible staff of the Colorado Lawyers Committee, Caitlin, Alicia, Kathleen. If you're in the room, if you could please stand. I want to thank all of our luncheon volunteers. We had a lot of people turn out today. We have the most amazing staff. We are also pleased to have some honored guests here with us today. We have our U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado, Cole Finnegan. We have our Mexican consulate, Antonio Portmelo, so thank you so much for being here, Antonio. Our Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, is up at the front. Thank you, Jenna. We have our law school deans, the Sturm College of Law Dean Bruce Smith, and our University of Colorado Law School Dean Lolita Buckner-Innes, who wasn't feeling well today, but we wish her the very best. So thank you to both of the law school deans. We also have a lot of judges and former judges, really too many to name, but I do want to acknowledge them. So if you are a member of the judicial branch or a former one, if you could please stand so that we could thank you, please. Since the last time that we gathered in September of 2022, the Colorado Lawyers Committee has been very busy, and we've also seen a lot of change. We currently have 27 projects in 5 priority areas, and we are making a difference all across the state of Colorado. These projects are highlighted in the annual report that you may be sitting on right now. But if not, it was in your seat when you came into the room. So please take a look at that. Take it home with you. Spend some time with it. You at the Lawyers Committee are really doing incredible work, and we have so much to celebrate. Also at your seat, you're going to see the program for our luncheon, and inside is the list of over 1,200 volunteers who worked on Lawyers Committee projects last year. I'm sure you'll see your name in there. And so if you are interested in volunteering, we always have amazing projects going on. You can join a task force. You can jump on some litigation if you're interested. Please reach out to any one of us or go to our website. We would be happy to work with you to really tailor a pro bono experience that works best for you. Now I want to welcome our incredible board chair, Richard Westfall.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming today and taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for a wonderful celebration for our organization. I am Richard Westfall, and I have the pleasure of being the board chair of the Colorado Lawyers Committee this year. We're delighted you could join us. This has been an exciting year for the Colorado Lawyers Committee, as after 23 years with Connie Talmadge being the head of the organization, we are welcoming new leadership. We have two new leaders heading up the Lawyers Committee, Kristen Bronson, who you just heard from, our new Chief Executive Officer, and Kathleen McCrowan, our new Chief Operating Officer. We were able and very fortunate to get Kathleen to come back to Colorado from the University of North Carolina Law School to be our Chief Operating Officer. Her experience with the Lawyers Committee and her knowledge of the Denver legal community are invaluable. As for Kristen, she joined us after serving as the city attorney for the city and county of Denver. She has brought energy and vision to the Colorado Lawyers Committee. She has a deep understanding of the myriad of issues touching on the civil rights of the people of Colorado, and she has brought a sharp legal mind to help us as an organization address those issues. We are exceptionally fortunate to have such a dedicated and talented leadership team. This leadership transition marked a huge change for our organization as we said thank you and goodbye to the incomparable Connie Talmadge. Connie's mark on this organization and on this community cannot be overstated. As many have said, she is a force of nature whose accomplishments are too many to count. You will hear about one of those projects, the Afghan Asylum Project, later in this program today. This organization truly would not be the force for good that it is and has been for the last 23 years were it not for Connie Talmadge. For every one of us who has worked with Connie, she will always hold a special place in our memories and in our hearts. We are thrilled that Connie is here today. Would you please stand and join me in thanking Connie for her 23-year legacy at the Colorado Lawyers Committee. I wasn't about to begin to cut that off. Because we have a very full agenda, we are going to move this show forward while you are eating your lunch. I would ask that if you are eating your lunch, that you please do so quietly. Next, I'm happy to introduce the chair of our Young Lawyers Division, Edgar Barraza, to give a special presentation concerning the Young Lawyers Division. Edgar? Stop talking to Connie and come up.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. So this has been an exciting year for the YLD, and I'd like to start off by introducing you to the members of the new YLD board. So I ask that after I announce your name, please stand and remain standing as I finish. So we have as new members Rosa Baum, Adrian Boyd, Jessica Dangoya Crandall, Mia Eaton, Erica Carter, Jared Erdl, Liz Frolke, Jennifer Kincaid, Beth Michaels, Meredith O'Harris, Stephen Robin, Emily Tichenor, Mac Wilding, and Whitney Wolf. If you could please help me. Thank you. Thank you guys for all your work, and I'm looking forward to an exciting new year with the YLD and to collaborating with you on all our new exciting projects. Some updates on what YLD is doing at this time, and some accomplishments. I'm excited to report that our roster has grown to over 350 members as of today. And in fact, we recently included a new team member that's going to be focused solely on elections-related projects. This is very important given the approaching election, and we will also be launching a nonpartisan election call center, as we do on every presidential election cycle, and that would be going live this November. Another update in terms of Denver Legal Night, we have successfully transitioned back to in-person now, and we are now serving an average of almost 100 individuals per night. So that's bi-monthly every night. Thanks to a generous donation, Legal Night is now implementing the use of paid interpreters. As you know, a lot of the people we help are monolingual Spanish speakers, so thanks to a general benefactor, we've now been able to bring on board paid interpreters, and that has been a tremendous help. Similarly, the Nonprofit Legal Audit Clinic has served a record of 35 nonprofits in July 2022. And it continues to be, there continues to be a strong showing of that project into 2023. The next nonprofit legal audit clinic will be held in early March of 2024. Hate Crimes Education Task Force. They're also working on expanding outreach to new schools and new districts. So please let us know if you would like a presentation at your children's school, or at any school really, that you know who would benefit from this presentation from a Hate Crimes Education Task Force. In terms of YLD fundraising and events, that team put up a great and successful event at the casino night last February. Thank you, Ratha and Mohammed Bai, for hosting us. We raised approximately $12,000 at that event. The next casino night is scheduled for February 24th of 2024. Please mark your calendars. Finally, the YLD is now collaborating with the Access to Justice Commission and Rick Morgan, and we're going to launch a new volunteer opportunity for young lawyers by way of a virtual pro se clinic. More information on this opportunity will be forthcoming, so please stay tuned, and please, I encourage you, everybody, to participate and volunteer at all of our clinics, not just this new pro se clinic, but also the nonprofit and Denver Legal Night as well. Thank you. That is all from me. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Edgar, and thank you to all the YLD board members who are here today. The YLD is a critically important part of the Lawyers Committee, and it is invaluable in bringing young lawyers into serving the mission of this organization. It was one of the great developments that Connie did for this group, and we will be reaping the benefits of this as an organization for many years to come. Thank you for your service to the Young Lawyers Division. I'll now ask Colorado Lawyers Committee Executive Committee member Tamir Goldstein of Sherman and Howard to please come to the stage and introduce our keynote speaker. Tamir?
Hello, everybody. I am honored to be the person to introduce our keynote speaker, Justice Melissa Hart of the Colorado Supreme Court. Within the state judiciary, she is a stalwart leader on issues relating to pro bono service and access to justice, as we all know, central issues to us at the Colorado Lawyers Committee. Her tireless efforts in promoting access to justice in Colorado are remarkable. I want to go over a few of those examples. Justice Hart collaborated with the Standing Committee on Family Issues to simplify the discovery and trial process in simple divorce cases. She also helped to set up the Judicial Department's Pathways to Access Committee. For several years now, Justice Hart has served, and this is something that I think is very impressive, as the court's ex officio member on the Colorado Access to Justice Commission, the mission of which is to expand access, quality, and fairness in the judicial system for all Coloradoans. She led an unparalleled effort for the commission to hear directly from the people of Colorado about their legal needs through a statewide Listen and Learn tour. The Listen and Learn tour conducted 41 different sessions, meeting virtually with over 500 legal and community service providers in each of the Colorado 22 judicial districts. This hard work culminated in a final report of findings and recommendations that has dramatically aided in the work to close the civil justice gap. Her accomplishments have not gone unnoticed. I'm going to identify a few of the awards she has received over the years for her work in community service. In 2023, Justice Hart won the Denver Bar Association Judicial Excellence Award. In 2016, the Woman Who Light the Community Award from the Boulder Chamber of Commerce. In 2014, the Raising the Bar Award from the Colorado Women's Bar Association. 2012, Chase Faculty Community Service Award from the University of Colorado. 2011, Clifford Calhoun Public Service Award from the University of Colorado School of Law. 2009, Serving Communities Award from the CU Boulder Institute for Ethical and Civil Engagement. And 2008, Outstanding Community Service Award from the Colorado Hispanic Bar Association. Justice Hart's service has been extraordinary and an exceptional contribution to the improvement of our judicial system. It is my distinct honor to welcome as our keynote speaker, Justice Melissa Hart.
I want to first say that I asked them not to list all of those awards. It's very embarrassing. But thank you. Thank you all so much for having me. Thanks to Kristen and Kathleen, to Connie, to Richard as the board chair, and to all of you for what you do to serve vulnerable communities in Colorado. As those who know me are aware, I am passionate about finding ways to close the justice gap. My law clerks asked yesterday where my passion came from. So I've been ruminating on that. But since this is not a family therapy session, I have to just admit I couldn't pinpoint an event or a moment. It seems like it's just been in my bones, as I think it has for so many of you. It just was never a question. So it's always been there, but it gets stronger every year. When we swear in new lawyers, we ask them to swear or affirm that they will use their knowledge of the law for the betterment of society and the improvement of the legal system. In the preamble of our Colorado Rules of Professional Conduct, we declare that a lawyer is a public citizen, having special responsibility for the quality of justice. It seems obvious to me that one of those special responsibilities is to provide pro bono service. We know that the needs of the poor and moderate income communities in our state and in this country are far from being met. This is particularly true in rural communities. Coloradans with legal problems connected to their most basic needs, housing, family, food security, healthcare, job security, immigration, and basic safety, among others, are often left to navigate our exceedingly complex legal system with no help. The work that you do through the Colorado Lawyers Committee, but also in your other pro bono efforts, and I know many of you do take on other work, is so important. This community offers so much to celebrate. You do not need cajoling or chiding to use your knowledge of the law for the betterment of society and the improvement of the legal system. You came in knowing that that was part of what you were supposed to be doing. In looking through the program for today's Colorado Luncheon, and if you had a chance at the table, as Kristen mentioned, to look at the annual report, it is just overwhelming, the number of volunteers and the amount of work that you do to help people using really different skill sets and knowledge bases and across a really broad range of human and social needs. It's every time I have a chance to look at that, I am in awe. And so that's what we're here today to celebrate. So although I'm going to talk about some sort of negative things, I'm going to try to strike a balance between talking about the access to justice challenges that we genuinely are facing in our state and celebrating some of the progress that we have made. And Tamir set me up well. Given what I've been doing and sort of where my knowledge is, I'm going to focus on the work going on in two places, the Access to Justice Commission and the state's judicial branch. So I'm going to start with the Access to Justice Commission. I hope most of you are familiar with the commission. Okay, good. In case you are not, I will briefly explain. Our commission was started in 2003 as a collaboration between the judicial branch and the Colorado Bar Association. Its mission, which I'm going to say it again because it was in my speech, but you've already heard it, is to expand the access, quality, and fairness in the justice system for all Coloradans. The commission has done that in a variety of ways, and as Tamir mentioned, I'm the liaison from my court to the commission, but I was a commissioner on the commission before I joined the court. I've been a commissioner since 2012, so I've seen sort of many iterations of the kinds of work that the commission tries to do. And in 2021, we realized, I think we actually realized it in 2020, but we correctly predicted that 2021 was not going to be quite done with us and COVID. So in 2021, we decided to harness the new comfort that we all have with platforms like Zoom to conduct a virtual statewide listening tour, because we weren't quite confident that an in-person statewide listening tour was going to be well received. As Tamir mentioned, we held 41 sessions. We reached communities in all 22 of our state's judicial districts. And I want to just give a little more detail about this tour, because I think it has ended up being really formative for both the work of the commission and of the judicial branch since. From the very beginning in planning this tour, we focused on two structural priorities. The first one was to get local. We needed to have the people invited to the table in each community, each session that targeted a different part of the state, to be invited by members of their community, not by someone sitting on the internet in Denver looking up good contact information. And the second one was that we needed to include non-lawyers. So often when lawyers try to identify the problems that people most need solved, we see only legal problems and only legal solutions. But many of the challenges that have legal components are not experienced by those facing them as legal, and they have other impacts that are non-legal impacts. So when you bring non-lawyers into the room for problem solving, you end up with a completely different picture of what's possible. One of the strengths of the Access to Justice community in Colorado is that we have developed and supported local access to justice committees in most of our jurisdictions. These local committees work to put on Ask a Lawyer clinics, senior days, other opportunities for community members to come seek legal advice from lawyers in their communities. So we reached out to those local committees, and we reached out to the Colorado Legal Services offices all over the state, and we asked them to identify the service providers in their area that their clients worked with regularly. We contacted schools, libraries, and departments of human services in each community and asked the same. These local entities came up with lists that included community organizations working with immigrants, people with limited English proficiency, veterans, domestic violence survivors, and people living with disabilities or behavioral or mental health challenges. They also identified religious leaders, law enforcement, and local politicians as people who within their communities were important to bring to the table to really talk about the challenges people face. Each participant was, and I should say, it wasn't only non-lawyers. We did have in each session local lawyers, judges, other representatives from the courts, self-represented litigant coordinators, family court facilitators, clerks of court, the people who are the front face of the courts to the people trying to access our system. And each participant was asked beforehand to come ready to share the most significant challenges their clients or constituents faced when they try to access justice or the justice system. The most prominent access to justice barriers we heard all over the state. It was very consistent. There were differences in how it showed up, but very consistent barriers. Number one, and it's why we're here, the lack of free or affordable legal services. And that can be legal aid. We need more funding for legal aid, people would say. We need more lawyers who are willing to provide free or reduced cost legal services. And it was exponentially worse in our rural communities, although again, a challenge everywhere. The second one was the complexity of the legal system. We have created a legal system that is both as a matter of the substantive law and of the processes that people need to go through, incredibly complex, unnecessarily complex, I would say. And so people struggle with that. The third, fear and distrust of the courts. And that comes from a lot of different places. One of the things we heard frequently, again, from our non-lawyer service providers, is that, well, everyone in this room knows the difference between civil law and criminal law. Most people don't. And so if you have a family member or a friend or an acquaintance who has had a bad experience with the criminal justice system, the idea of going to the court to ask for help with a civil legal problem doesn't quite make sense. And then we make our courts pretty imposing. We want to appear above in many ways. We don't build our courts the way you would build a daycare center. We're not trying to be inviting. We should probably think about that. So distrust and fear of the courts is a significant barrier. Language and other accessibility barriers are a constant and serious challenge all over the state. And then there are kind of outside of the court system, technology challenges and transportation challenges that prevent people from even thinking about getting to a courthouse door. So I want to highlight a few of the geographic differences that really stood out for me, because they're challenges. Some of them are challenges that the courts can't solve, but we need to think about how we can be in partnership, all of us, I think, to solve them. So in the San Luis Valley, we ended up during these sessions having people join the conversation with their screen off, because their internet access was not strong enough to allow them to do a Zoom with both video and audio. If you think about what that means for someone trying to do a virtual appearance in court, it's a pretty fundamental problem. And those internet challenges are joined by hardware challenges. I think many people assume that everyone has a smartphone. Everyone doesn't have a smartphone. That's just not true. And everyone doesn't know how to do Zoom or WebEx or whatever the platform might be. So that technology challenge is out there, and it's something we need to work on. In the Valley, that's complicated even further by transportation challenges. Many people live many hours from their nearest courthouse in the San Luis Valley, and there is no public transportation that connects people to the places where they might seek help from the courts. So they can't do it virtually, and they can't do it in person. And those are kind of the two options we've thought of so far. So solving that problem is a significant one. And the transportation challenges that court users face are particularly stark in large rural districts. The entire, what I call the eastern seaboard of the state, is again similar to the San Luis Valley. Communities very far apart and no public transportation. So having people have access to start trying to get justice is a challenge. But it's also true in the metro area. A number of our courts are in places where people have to take 2 or 3 or 4 buses to get to a court appearance, and that can take several hours and can lead to people missing court appearances and the compounding consequences of that are enormous. So the reality is that the same basic challenges can look different and have very different potential solutions all over the state, which is why one of the things that I took away from these hearings is we have to continue to try to get local when we think of solutions. We sitting here in this room will not be able to figure out what's the best way to get someone to a courthouse in Alamosa. It's not going to happen. We need to start thinking about how we create community around the state and how we partner with people who are proximate to that problem and can think about good solutions. So I'm now going to turn, having heard these messages, members of the Access to Justice Committee asked ourselves, how should we move forward? What are the best next steps? And the Judicial Department did the same. So I'm going to start by talking about the Commission. The Commission, which currently is under the really great leadership of Polsinelli's Richard Murray, who has been a wonderful chair of the Commission, and Elisa Overall, who is our executive director, immediately applied for and received a very substantial, the largest that we're aware of in our state, grant from the Department of Justice to find and implement innovative approaches to bringing desperately needed legal resources to the most underserved areas in rural Colorado. And I always have this desire to add "and frontier," because some of our communities don't even count as rural. They are so remote and so unpopulated that they actually qualify as frontier communities. There are people there, but there are no services there. So we need to think about solving that problem. That program is being stood up now. The Commission has also been playing an educational role with the General Assembly. Elisa Overall has done a remarkable job of pushing the legislature to recognize these problems and to respond to them, and has been a wonderful advocate. And again, drawing from what we learned in those listen and learn sessions, working to develop partnerships with non-legal service providers and nonprofits, libraries, recognizing that we'll find more and better solutions if we do that together. Another really interesting thing that the Commission has been doing is supporting, we have two, at both law schools, we have innovation labs, tech innovation labs, that are classes in which law students work with a professor at each school to develop tech applications that can help people solve legal problems. So the kinds of things that they're doing are an app where you can enter basic information. If you're a tenant looking to send a landlord a letter, you can enter basic information and it will create the letter that uses the right legal terms, that puts together how you ought to address the problem you have so that you can give it to the landlord. They have apps that help people start the basics of a dissolution of marriage proceeding, or look for benefits. So there are really innovative things happening in the tech world now. And the Commission, which 20 years ago when it started, I think was pretty tech scared, is getting tech comfortable. So that's been a really important piece of what they're doing. There's more, but I think I'm talking too long already, so I'm going to turn to, I have just a lot of great things to say about the Commission, and I will end by urging all of you to learn more and get involved. But the Judicial Department has also been hard at work tackling barriers to access, and I really do want to share some of that work that we've been doing. 2 years ago, right after the end of the Listen and Learn tour, Chief Justice Boatwright approved the creation of the Pathways to Access Standing Committee. And what this is basically an internal to the branch Access to Justice Committee or Commission. It looks specifically at what we can be doing as a court system to address the access issues. So we're not going to address transportation. Someone else is going to have to address that. But how can we make our processes work better for the people who are trying to use them? And it's a great committee. It has people from all over the state. It has people from sort of every different level. This is one of my themes, every different level of the judicial branch. It's not a bunch of judges navel-gazing. It's mostly people who are frontline people who can actually solve problems, which is really wonderful. We have 5 subcommittees. The first is a forms subcommittee, which has been focused on putting our forms into plain language that people can understand. And plain language is a whole field of expertise, but we have already established plain language forms in domestic cases. So we have, and those are standard across the state. They are now the standard forms if you go to the judicial website. And we're starting to work on other areas of law, most particularly currently evictions. The virtual hearings subcommittee. We actually have like 6 subcommittees in the judicial department currently looking at virtual hearings because we recognize the importance of that option for people. Although many people don't prefer it, we've got to have that as an option that's available. This subcommittee is specifically focused on the user experience for the unrepresented litigant, how we can make the virtual hearing process work well for unrepresented litigants. And it's also working with the other judicial subcommittees to be sure we're not at cross purposes. The third subcommittee looks at e-filing. We currently allow pro se litigants to e-file only in domestic cases, and that's even relatively new. When the system was stood up, it was stood up for lawyers, not so much for unrepresented litigants. But we're working on that. Starting in January, unrepresented parties will be able to e-file in eviction matters. And once we've got that, that was sort of a moving from domestic to a more general civil category was the big push. So once we've got that, we don't think it'll take long to have e-filing be available in all cases for unrepresented litigants. In that context, we're actually examining the standards we use for giving people permission to file without paying filing fees. We haven't really changed those. Thank you, Connie. We haven't changed those standards in a long time, and it's something that we recognize we need to look at. Finally, well, there are 2 more. The Language Access Committee, which I have to admit, I don't have anything to report because it's such a large problem to solve. But it's looking at how we can use the right mix of in-person interpreters and virtual interpreters, of which there are a lot available, to try to come up with the best service options for our communities. And then finally, we have a new committee called the Housing Committee, which was really, I think, spurred into being by a really exciting development, which is that Magistrate Judge Andrea Pashitsky in Colorado Springs in the 4th Judicial District applied for and was awarded a grant from the National Center for State Courts to do an eviction diversion program. The center only awarded 9 grants this year, and she got one of them, and her program is a very ambitious idea of how to move people past an eviction into a space where they are more stable and secure, and have the courts and other service organizations support that. And the branch is really committed and has committed resources and time to supporting that in the hopes that we might be able to then set it up around the state. So that has become a priority as well. I know I'm talking for too long. I'm gonna be really quick. I'm gonna start talking really fast. I want to sort of end by saying there's a handout with all of the Colorado Lawyers Committee materials that I brought today, which is this is separate from our access to justice work, but I think ultimately very important to our access to justice work. The department recently adopted a new mission, vision, and values set of statements. I'm not going to talk about the mission statement today, and it's not on the handout, but it is on the front page of our website if you want to look at it. But I think the vision and values statements are really important. This was again done through a statewide collaborative process. People from every level of the department, both courtside and probation, people from every single judicial district. And then it was run by leadership and on the court side, on the probation side, at the state court administrator's office, and ultimately approved by my court this summer. So our vision, that's our North Star. If we were doing what we do perfectly, this is what we think it would look like. And I want to point you in particular to one word in the vision statement. Our first draft of the statement referenced equal access to the judicial process. I think we were sort of parroting the common expression of equal justice for all, but as we talked about it, we realized that to provide equal justice for all, we would have to provide equitable access for all. There's no way to provide equal justice if everyone doesn't have a chance to get in the courthouse door, and everyone isn't positioned the same way as they approach the courthouse door. So we're committed to working to provide that equitable access. On the other side of the handout are our values. We commit to acting with integrity, fairness, and transparency, and we commit to being inclusive, collaborative, and innovative. We know we're not there yet, but we will use the values to benchmark our policy choices, and I encourage you to tell us where we're missing the mark. We're using these to hold ourselves accountable, but we also ask you to hold us accountable. That is a piece of my call to action today. Those of you who are lawyers working in the courts can tell us when we could do better, living the values we are committed to. The Pathways to Access Standing Committee was created to try to address the barriers that people face. Let us know if you see something. We're not in court every day, so if you see something that we should be talking about, let us know. I also urge you to look for pro bono opportunities. You already do so much, but particularly in rural Colorado. I've been struck in the past few years by how urgent that need is. Edgar mentioned Rick Morgan's virtual pro se clinic. I'm thrilled that the Young Lawyers Division is doing that. Everyone who has an opportunity to participate in that should. I did it for several years before joining the court, and it's a really kind of low cost in terms of your time, but huge impact in terms of the value it provides, and gives you a sense of what's happening around the state. I mean, you're basically sitting at your computer on Zoom providing legal information to people in libraries all over the state, and it's just a remarkable program. Colorado Legal Services also has a family law panel for any of you who do family law that offers opportunities for lawyers to give in-depth legal advice calls to people outside of the metro area. So again, there are opportunities for those of us sitting in this room to help outside of the metro area. And then the last thing I want to suggest is consider volunteering with the Access to Justice Commission. They have so much work going on that could use more hands. Has committees, including groups tackling the issues of rural services, the statewide online portal that they're starting, and then innovative approaches to the delivery of legal services, which would give you an opportunity to interact with Dave Stark. And that is one of the best things you could ever have. So again, I know all of you in this room do so much. Thank you so much for everything you're already doing and everything you've given our legal community and the people we serve. I am really constantly in awe of everything you do and grateful for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Hart, and we so appreciate your speech on the challenges to access to justice, and I just want to pledge on behalf of the Lawyers Committee and our contributing law firms and our volunteers that we are here to partner with you and to assist in that work. So thank you so much. All right, guys, it's time for the awards presentation. This is where I get out the jazz hands. All right, our very first award this afternoon is the Legal Legacy Award, and thankfully, Justice Hart set this up for us perfectly, so thank you. The Legal Legacy Award honors an attorney whose legacy of dedicated service and leadership has fostered a culture within a firm or the larger legal community that elevates the importance of pro bono legal work. I'd like to welcome Jessica Yates, our Attorney Regulation Counsel for the Colorado Supreme Court, to come to the stage to help present this year's Legal Legacy Award.
Good afternoon. When Kristen invited me to be able to honor Dave Stark, I was just thrilled because I've gotten to know Dave really well in the past 5.5 years with work that's probably obscure to most of you. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the things that I really have just been privileged to watch Dave, really ever since I got involved with the Colorado Lawyers Committee as a junior associate, is that he definitely sort of encapsulates the perfect person of embodying the spirit of pro bono work. So it's not just all the committees he sat on, and I'll mention a few, just a few, but it's his willingness to take on the cases, to take on the work, and I'll give you some examples of that too. So, for example, Dave has served as the chair of the Children's Task Force, and like a lot of Colorado Lawyers Committee, their task forces get involved in impact litigation, and that's pretty cool stuff, where maybe you're suing on to get benefits for thousands of people, and in fact, this happened to be for children on Medicaid who needed to get services that they were being denied, and so he worked on that, high impact litigation. But that's not all. Dave also took on a pro bono case involving a juvenile incarcerated defendant who was the victim of a sexual assault by a jailer. And so, that's the kind of thing that doesn't make a headline, but it does have a tremendous meaning for the person involved and shows us all how important this work is. Veterans' rights. Dave has advocated for veterans improperly denied benefits by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, including, again, pro bono appeals for them, one by one. Veterans injured by IEDs and suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. Expanded automatic benefit eligibility for vets with Agent Orange. So there's a lot of both individual and broader impact litigation that Dave has helped spearhead. I want to talk for a moment about, like I said, some of the more obscure work. So Dave has been involved in the Advisory Committee on the Practice of Law, which is a committee that oversees all the parts of this attorney admissions, regulation function for the past 23 years. He's the chair of that committee at this point. And for a lot of you, you think, oh, it's that old grievance system. But under Dave's leadership, it has expanded to something that is truly the gold star in the United States, including attorney mentoring through the Colorado Attorney Mentoring Program, the Colorado Lawyers Assistance Program to help people just whether it's a little bit of stress, a lot of stress, or full-blown mental health crisis. And they're there for those folks. The Licensed Legal Paraprofessional Program. We've got some other folks in the room who've been involved in that. Dave started working on that, I think, in 2014. The court gave us new direction on that in 2019. It's now 2023, and he's still at it. On the LLP committee, we're getting ready to launch in 2024 a new pathway for individuals who have been paralegals or other types of family law paraprofessionals who can get licensed to provide limited scope services in the domestic relations area to assist particularly those who can't afford a lawyer. Individuals who are going to go it alone. Justice Hart talked about the individuals who are going it alone, trying to navigate our court system. And one of the things that when we were going through this project, and Dave has been so instrumental on that, is to talk to people who said, boy, if I had only had someone to help, even if just filling out those darn forms, and we'll have people who are ready and prepared and educated to do that. In addition to that, of course, he's involved with the Access to Justice Commission, as Justice Hart talked about, serving as the pro bono chair, this delivery services subcommittee of that. He's done tremendous work on a lot of different facets of those big policy areas and also those sort of micro projects throughout the state. But I don't want to just tell you about what he's done, but how he's done it, because that is something that really we should all strive for. Dave has so much willingness to get in the weeds and the trenches on all of these projects, not just show up to chair something and then say, okay, you associates go do that. Dave has been so far in the weeds. When I first joined our office, they were in the middle of a project to rewrite the procedural rules governing attorney discipline. I'm sure a lot of you would not volunteer for that work. It's a little bit in the weeds, but we met every other Wednesday for 4 years to get that project done, and Dave was there for the whole thing. His consistent commitment. If he says he'll do it, he will do it. If he says he'll be there, he will be there. Always, always, always. And it is something that when you're trying to push things forward, whether it be litigation or a project, so grateful for that kind of person. The other thing about Dave, though, is that he's got something that he can bring to leadership when that's his role, when he's the chair, when he's the partner. But he's also extraordinarily supportive when others are leading, when others are taking up the mantle, and a terrific mentor in doing that. It really is my honor to, on behalf of the Colorado Lawyers Committee, provide Dave with this award for the Legal Legacy Award.
Thank you all. Kristen told me I only have 1 or 2 minutes. She said, thank yous, but no remarks. And so I will keep it short. My notes are right here. This is it. But I do want to say thank you. As I've said before, I'm really humbled and thankful for this award. But I want to thank the people that have helped me along the way. First, my family. My late wife, her feeling was that the best work that I did was pro bono work. It didn't always put food on the table, but boy, she loved it. My 2 sons, Ted and Tim, and their families have put up with a lot. And have encouraged me all along the way. My law firm, Faegre. Faegre is the epitome of a place that has a culture that supports and encourages pro bono work. I want to thank the partners there, the lawyers, and most of all, my legal assistant, Carol Wilt. Without Carol, I couldn't do all of these committees. I couldn't schedule all the lunches. I couldn't schedule all the meetings. Carol is always there to help me with my agenda that I prepare, to help me with the minutes, like I say, I couldn't do it without her. The Lawyers Committee. You've heard about Connie. You know Connie. Connie is one of a kind. And Connie came to me back in, I think, 2000 and asked me to get more involved in the Lawyers Committee. And she is a superstar. But speaking of superstars, Kristen Bronson and Kathleen McCrohan and Richard Westfall and the rest of the executive committee are all-stars as well. And none of this could be done without them and their help. And finally, I want to thank all the lawyers who over the years have agreed with me that pro bono is not only good for the profession, but it is also our obligation, our debt to society, our debt to the profession for giving us the opportunity to serve as attorneys and counselors and fiduciaries. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, folks, we are going to turn to Team of the Year. This year there are 4 nominees, and in your program there's a big write-up on each one, so I really want to encourage you to take a look at that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce and recognize each nominee before I announce the actual Team of the Year. And so I'd like to ask the steering committee or those involved in each of these teams to stand as I just briefly describe the team. So the first team that we're going to talk about is Denver Legal Night. So if you all could please stand, folks working on Denver Legal Night, and stay standing. We might need to hold applause until the end, guys, because we have 4 of these to get through. Since 2006, the Colorado Lawyers Committee has organized 2 monthly legal night clinics at Centro San Juan Diego in the Rhino neighborhood, and volunteers provide advice and referrals to individuals and families who cannot afford legal services, and the need is tremendous. Over the summer, CLC volunteers served as many as 150 people a night, the last 2 or 3 of those. And in 2022, 403 volunteers assisted 969 clients. I believe this year we're going to surpass that. Since Denver Legal Night began, almost 32,000 individuals have been served. Thank you to the Denver Legal Night team. Okay. Our next nominee is the Hate Crimes Education Task Force. If you all would please stand and hold your applause while I describe those folks. Hate Crimes Education Task Force. For almost 30 years, volunteers have presented an educational program. Almost 30 years. I don't know if you heard that. For almost 30 years, we have been presenting an educational program on Colorado's hate or bias-motivated crimes statute. And we do this in the schools and to community groups across the state. Using a fictional trial format, the presentation really empowers student participants to act as jurors, and they work to improve community culture in areas concerning discrimination, stereotyping, bias, and belonging, and to really prevent the severe harm that's caused by hateful slurs and bias-motivated actions. Over the last just 20 years, because that's when we started really collecting the data. So remember, this group's been doing this for 30. 1,100 volunteers have presented to nearly 9,000 students in 235 schools. Thank you to the Hate Crimes Education team. Our third nominee is the Nonprofit Legal Audit Clinic. Would you please stand, Nonprofit Legal Audit Clinic? And I know they have a lot of volunteers in this room. If you have volunteered, please stand. Since 2006, the Colorado Lawyers Committee has partnered with the Colorado Nonprofit Association, and I would like to thank those folks because Colorado Nonprofit Association is in the house, so thank you for being here. And we hold a nonprofit legal audit clinic for small nonprofits with really limited operating budgets. Teams of pro bono transactional attorneys work one-on-one with the participating nonprofit leaders, usually in groups of 2 to 3 attorneys, and they go through a checklist to evaluate the legal health of the organization. They'll also answer questions that are submitted in advance, and this is about a half a day or more program. Client meetings are generally preceded by a CLE training for the lawyers on nonprofit law or some aspect of Colorado nonprofit law. Since 2006, 900 CLC volunteers have assisted 350 small Colorado nonprofits through the clinic. So thank you to the Nonprofit Legal Audit Clinic team. All right, and our final nominee for Team of the Year is the School Expulsion Pilot Project. Would you all please stand? Last year, and that includes our partners. I know Ellie is here too, so our partners, please stand. Last year, the School Discipline Subcommittee partnered with Rocky Mountain Children's Law Center, and now Disability Law Colorado, and the Colorado Juvenile Defender Center to launch a new pilot program. And this project provides direct pro bono representation to students that are facing expulsion. And this is for school districts across the state, not just the metro area. Under Colorado law, starting in 3rd grade, students can be expelled for a calendar year, and many times with very, very minimal procedural requirements. And so due process has been a cause for great concern. While the students have a right to expulsion hearing and related appeal rights, many of them just can't afford legal assistance and don't have legal assistance in navigating that process. So volunteers from six law firms, CLC law firms, have taken on these cases with truly tremendous results so far, and we can't wait to see where this project goes. Thank you to the school expulsion team. And it is now my great pleasure to announce that the Colorado Lawyers Committee Board of Directors has selected as this year's Team of the Year, Denver Legal Night. If I could invite the Denver Legal Night Steering Committee, Angela, Reyes, our partners from Central San Juan Diego, please come up to the stage. We'd like to hand you your awards. Thank you, and congratulations to Denver Legal Night. Okay, it's time for Law Firm of the Year Award. And this year, there are 4 law firms that were nominated. And I'm going to once again introduce each law firm before we announce the award recipient. And I'd like to ask all of the folks from the law firm to stand as we just say a comment or two about the outstanding contributions of these 4 firms. So our first nominee is Ballard Spahr, LLP. If Ballard Spahr, if you folks could please stand. Oh, you're right here. Great. During 2022, 19 attorneys in the Ballard Spahr LLP Denver office, and that represents a whopping 66% of the firm's lawyers, participated in 9 Colorado Lawyers Committee projects and donated over 535 hours of time. Thank you to all of the Ballard Spahr volunteers. Our second nominee is Holland and Hart. If you guys could please stand. During 2022, 33 attorneys and staff in the Holland and Hart Denver office, 16% of the firm's lawyers, participated in 18 Colorado Lawyers Committee projects and donated nearly 327 hours of time. Thank you to the Holland and Hart volunteers. Our third nominee is Ogletree Deacons Nash, Smoke, and Stewart. If you all could please stand. Oh. During 2022, 25 attorneys and staff in the Ogletree, Denver office, 96% of the firm's lawyers and staff participated in 8 Colorado Lawyers Committee projects and donated 413 hours of time. Thank you, Ogletree volunteers. And our final nominee is Wilmer Cutler Pickering Hale and Dorr. If you all could please stand. During 2022, 26 attorneys and staff in the Wilmer Cutler Pickering Hale and Dorr Denver office, 68% of the firm's lawyers participated in 14 Colorado Lawyers Committee projects and donated over 348 hours of time. Thank you, Wilmer Hale volunteers. And it is now my great pleasure to report that the Board of Directors of the Colorado Lawyers Committee has selected as this year's Law Firm of the Year, Ballard Spahr, LLP. Congratulations, Ballard Spahr. Come on up to the stage. We'll get a photo. Thank you. Thanks. Congratulations. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, and congratulations to Ballard Spahr. We want each year, we have folks that go above and beyond and do contribute in special ways to the Lawyers Committee. And we have a couple special recognition awards that we'd like to give out this afternoon. And the first special recognition award is presented to Polsinelli PC. And I want to say for nearly 6 years, come on up. I want to say for nearly 6 years now, the Lawyers Committee has received unwavering support from Polsinelli. Their collective efforts have allowed us to fulfill the mission of the Colorado Lawyers Committee every day. We office with them. We work with them. We go to the water cooler together. And managing partner Jennifer Evans, office manager Wanda Wade, but everyone from the mailroom staff to receptionists to IT professionals, the entire Polsinelli team has really treated us as part of their law firm family, and we cannot thank the firm enough. And for this, we recognize Polsinelli today with the Colorado Lawyers Committee Special Recognition Award. Okay, and our final award of the afternoon is presented to the Colorado Afghan Asylum Project. When you look back on the legacy of the Colorado Lawyers Committee, and we have a long legacy, and it is part of your legacy, the legacy of all of your firms and all of the volunteers, this is a project that will stand out. And it took a real Herculean effort to pull off. And I want to acknowledge the incredible work of Connie Talmadge in mobilizing an army of over 350 volunteer lawyers and non-lawyers for a community that was in desperate need. And we did not do that alone. We had amazing partners that we did that with, and you're going to see that now in a video presentation that we have for you.
In August of 2021, there was a huge evacuation from Kabul when the U.S. pulled out. and about 74,000 Afghans left Kabul.
I was living in Afghanistan, Kabul. I lost my dad when he was working with Afghan government, and Taliban one day was very emotional for me. Came to their office, to his office, and killed him.
Most of the people who left Afghanistan, it was for a reason, because they were working with the government.
And having a history of working with refugees and asylees in Colorado, former clients started to reach out to me. How do I get my family here? How do I get my parents here? How do I get my brothers and sisters here?
I was working in Afghanistan parliament, and there was American women, 7 of them. And then when they was leaving Afghanistan, they called me and they said, "We are leaving. If you want to go with us, just go right now with us." And that's how I came here in the United States.
We are happy that we start a new life in the U.S.
They very welcomed me to Denver, and some people, and I got job, and I'm very happy. I'm working right now.
It became apparent very early on that Afghans who were coming to the United States as a part of the evacuation wouldn't have a secure status.
And in immigration, lots of people don't understand this. You can't just walk into the United States. You have to have some sort of status if you're going to be here legally.
There were so many dealing with huge issues: how to eat, how to find apartments, how to get jobs, how to get their kids in school. And this was a piece, but a crucial one, because it was going to keep them from being sent back.
It's really difficult for a person that coming from a different culture, from a different country to America.
I was like struggling. It was new country. Everything was new. I didn't know how to navigate through and apply for my asylum. And I looked online, the internet. It was like very big application. Didn't know how to do it.
Under immigration law, if someone is going to apply for asylum in the United States, they have to apply within 1 year of entry. And they have to show that they have a well-founded fear of persecution.
By the time we found everyone permanent housing, we were like halfway through that 12-month period. And so only then did we really shift our attention to providing legal services.
In normal circumstances, it would take weeks and weeks to put together an asylum application. We didn't have that kind of time. And the immigration bar in Colorado is pretty limited, so there weren't enough immigration lawyers to do this.
This was going to be extremely difficult because asylum law is death penalty law. People who lose their asylum case, they go back to their home country, and many of them are murdered. It was a monumental lift.
So we came up with the idea of doing these workshops where we would train non-immigration lawyers from the pool of volunteers we had through the Lawyers Committee, and non-lawyers who could do the asylum applications.
And then around that time, the community navigator at Hope Communities just started bringing me Afghan evacuee families.
What is your rule of the government for your visa, for your application, for your work permit? And then we started for workshop.
So I think we trained over 400 people, which was amazing.
We have our Colorado Lawyers Committee attorneys, and then we have non-attorney volunteers from every single walk of life. Teachers, retirees, students, medical professionals. Getting asylum means they can stay in the US, they can continue to work, and in 1 year they're eligible for a green card.
I tell the people should work together to make world better.
We worked collaboratively to refer families to this workshop and to explain to them that applying for asylum is important. Trying to figure out who are my volunteers, who are the clients we're trying to help, how big are their families, what language do they speak, do I have enough interpreters? If I don't, often on a Friday night, I would be emailing interpreters and saying, hey, do you know anybody who can come tomorrow?
Each table with a family got a lawyer and 2 non-lawyers, all of whom had gone through the training.
Some workshop we have with like 45 family at one day.
And I've talked to so many people about this project, And they've also said, oh, you know what? I was donating, mattresses and food and all that kind of stuff. So I think the whole city of Denver really rallied around this kind of work.
Hearing about this community and their courage and how much they had to give up to come here really made me want to be a part of that, because I knew it was something that really needed to happen. We needed to support these people that gave up their lives to support us.
Our firm, several staff members stepped up and they heard about the project, and then they said, sure, I will take a Saturday away from mine and go and spend the entire day with an Afghan family.
This process of bringing people into this country is close to everybody's heart.
The lawyers were all Colorado Lawyers Committee lawyers from all of the biggest firms. Without them, it would not have been possible.
And it's an arduous form. Our goal was to fill out an entire 589 in one day. That's really, really hard.
An asylum seeker's entire case can hinge on whether the adjudicating asylum officer or the immigration judge in the court system finds this person to be credible. Working with CLC's legal task force, we brainstormed about how to put in as many safeguards as possible to ensure that what came out of these workshops was the very highest quality that we could pull together.
I think the genius of the Colorado Lawyers Committee is the ability to leverage attorneys' skills beyond the reach of any individual attorney.
We ended up filing, I think, more than 600 applications, which just blew us all away. Amazing. So people walked in there with nothing, and in the afternoon they walked out with an application that they could take and mail. It strikes me as an amazing model for certain kinds of immigration crises where the immigration lawyers just can't do it all. And we pulled in the whole community, legal and non-legal, to handle a problem.
As soon as possible, I would be able to get my approval and serving to the U.S. after this.
I just think it's important for lawyers. We have an obligation to help the communities that we live in. Being a lawyer gives you a status that allows you to make a difference. And having projects like this enables that process.
I feel like this work was so worthwhile and it was really timely. So I'm incredibly grateful to all of the people who volunteered.
Right now I'm living in Colorado Springs and going to college and living my life. But I'm so lucky that I got approved my asylum also.
Immigrants are still coming, and we continue to be a nation of immigrants, and we continue to become more and more diverse, and I love that about this country.
I'd like to ask all of the Afghan asylum volunteers in the room to please stand. And I'd also like to thank Bartlett Beck for purchasing a table for a lot of our Afghan volunteers today. So thank you, Bartlett Beck. And now, come on up. We've got the Afghan Asylum Steering Committee. If you all could come up, and Nancy Elkin, if you don't mind saying a few words.
I know we've been here a while, so I'm going to be quick. I was so proud of and grateful to the Colorado Lawyers Committee for the support and the work that Connie did and all of the volunteers. And this project would not have happened without Connie and Tracy Harper and Stephen Williams. Where's Connie? Come on, Connie. Tracy came up with this idea, and we had lots and lots of Zoom meetings, some of them very frustrating, and then somehow it all came together, and it was amazing. So thank you all. Thank you, everybody who came, and I hope we don't have to do this again for a while. Oh, me?
There you go. Good. Perfect. Just like that. Nice. Everybody's right up here. Big smiles. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Such an amazing job. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the entire Afghan asylum team. Richard, yeah, great, come on up. This is you.
We are almost done. I want to thank, as chair of the Colorado Lawyers Committee, the volunteers for the project. That was an amazing, amazing effort, and the video, I think, speaks for itself. We are all, on behalf of the Lawyers Committee, exceptionally grateful for what they did. Special thanks to Jenny Castor of Sunny Side Up Solutions for that wonderful video tribute. Thank you. Before we wrap things up, we want to note that it is Connie's birthday tomorrow. Okay, I know we're getting a lot of Connie stuff, but we need one more, okay? One more. Just bear with me here. Let's all wish Connie Talmadge a very happy birthday. We have a few birthday surprises for her. I think somebody's got something here. And can we have a rendition of Happy Birthday to Connie? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Connie. Happy birthday to you. This concludes our program. Thank you all for attending and for supporting the Lawyers Committee. We invite all the law firm nominees to take with them the flowers on their tables, and we look forward to seeing you next year. Thanks again for coming.